Sensitization program on recent amendments to the Banking Regulation Act 2020. And this is specifically for urban cooperative banks. We are doing this for the first time for only urban cooperative banks. If necessary, we shall also do it for DCCBs and SCBs. As you all know, after this or during this lockdown period, a number of amendments were made to the BR Act. BR Act is applicable to all cooperative banks, under which you are also a part and parcel of. So we thought that let us sensitize all of you to what are the different amendments that have been made, and therefore this program. I have requested Mr. Khirwadkar, who is the CEO of Kalyan Janta Sahakari Bank, based in Kalyan. Earlier, Mr. Khirwadkar was with Bank of Maharashtra, and from there he joined Kalyan Janta Sahakari Bank. He is very well versed with this topic, and therefore I have requested him to please deliver this session. Now, during this session, I request all of you to ask whatever questions you want. Okay, please don't leave anything for tomorrow. Okay, because you get only this opportunity. He is in a position to answer all your questions, and it would be very good if you can answer, if you could ask those questions. But please do ask those questions, because every speaker, whosoever it is, likes to speak only what they know and what they like. It is the responsibility of the participant to ensure that their questions are answered by the speaker. So you must be prepared with your questions, and you must ask those during this particular session. I don't want anybody to later on give me the feedback that, oh, this was left, that was left, he did not answer this question, that question. No, that is not right. It is your duty to ask and ensure that you get your answers and you are satisfied with them. I must appreciate one bank, Kalupur Commercial Cooperative Bank from Gujarat. Their CEO is attending this particular program, and prior to that he has written a letter which contains his questions on the recent amendments, his what should I say, his understanding, or what he feels he wants to ask. I have forwarded that to the speaker, and I have requested Mr. Khirwadkar to discuss it with you all during this session. I would have really appreciated if more and more banks would have done this, because what happens is then the speaker also comes prepared to answer all your questions nicely. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not that we've lost opportunity. You still have the opportunity, and we can ask during this particular session. But I am requesting all of you time and again that please ask questions. Okay, maybe the questions could be kept in the latter part of the session after 4:30 or during the session. I don't know how Mr. Khirwadkar wants to actually deal with it, but he will tell you when he starts. Okay, so with this, I welcome all of you once again and request Khirwadkar sir to please start the session. Sir, have you come? Khirwadkar sir? Sir, आलेत का?
Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, shall I hand over to you?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, please start, sir. Please start. All urban banks and all senior people sitting here with you, sir.
Okay. Am I audible to you and to everyone?
I think you are audible, sir.
Okay.
Audible.
Good afternoon, everyone. Banking Regulation Act and the latest amendment has created a lot of confusion for the industry as a whole and for the individual banks as well. Before I start talking about the amendments that have been made, I would like to make some caveats or place some caveats before you. One of the caveats is that this act has been very recently passed. I mean, the amendments have been very recently passed in the month of September or so. Therefore, still the clarity on various provisions and some gray areas where the interpretation has different scopes still remains. The talk which I'll be doing, I'll be talking to you on the basis of how do I understand this as a banker, how do I interpret this. Based on my legal team and my lawyers' views, I'm going to talk about the amendments and how they impact the urban cooperative banks is something which I'll be doing. But you have one option.
Sir, sir,
Yeah.
sir, can I do request? Hello,
Hello.
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 Sir, can I do a small request?
Your voice is not clear. Hello.
Can I do a small? Hello,
Yeah, please.
can I do a small request?
Yeah, please go ahead.
हॅलो हा सर थोडं मराठीमध्ये एक्सप्लेन करता येईल का?
I'll do that. I'll do that because I am told that banks from various other states have also joined, like Gujarat and Karnataka. So I started talking in English, but then Marathi also absolutely no issues. मराठीमध्ये मी बोलू शकतो, मराठीमध्येही तुमच्या प्रश्नांना उत्तर देऊ शकतो. तुम्हाला एखादा मुद्दा समजला नाही तर जरूर बोला मराठीमध्ये, अडचण काही मला दिसत नाहीये.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I just want to make a request for the benefit of other state participants. It would be better if you could speak in Hindi.
Hindi, yes.
Hindi and English combination.
Yes, really.
Yes, sir.
That will be better because, sir, people in Maharashtra understand Hindi.
I absolutely have no issues. I absolutely have no issues.
Yeah.
I'll respond the way the language in which the question will be asked. I'll respond accordingly. I'll try to respond in Hindi as a preferred language.
Yeah.
But then to understand the law, there would be a lot of references in English which I am helpless because the technical words cannot be exactly translated into Hindi or in Marathi.
Yes.
So pardon me for this particular issue. My another request will be I'll take somewhere around 35 to 40 minutes to give you a glimpse of what has happened. So 35 to 40 minutes, I would not expect any questions from you. You just listen to whatever I have to say for 35 to 40 minutes, and then I'll give you 1 full hour to ask questions which I'll try to answer on the basis of my capabilities and my understanding. So, I mean, so that there is disruption and disturbance in the presentation of the talk which I am going to make. There will be absolute one way for the 30 minutes or so, and then we can have question answers. They can be responded very easily, and the impact will also be understood very easily by everyone.
Okay, Atulji, just to interrupt you, and I will request Jyotsna madam also, because the caveat which we are told at the beginning of the talk, that is very, very important, because what you understand or what advocate understand or what I understand is a different issue, but we want absolute clarity. Whatever, see, amendments are there, what is RBI has to say, that clarity we need. So I will request Jyotsna madam, wherever Atulji is putting some caveat,
Hello. Hello.
We have lost his voice.
Yeah. Sir, I think you please start.
Yeah, because what will happen, everybody will have a lot of questions because of the several gray areas
Yes.
as we find in these amendments, and different lawyers, different organizations are interpreting it in a different way, the way they see the things. So fundamentally, I would look at a story which is not only interesting, but is a game changer for the entire urban cooperative banking gamut. I mean, the way we were running the show, the way we were managing the show, all this is likely to undergo major changes. Not in terms of banking. The banking, what we are doing may not affect much, but then there are several areas which the way we were doing hitherto will undergo some change. जिस तरह से हम लोग बैंकिंग कर रहे थे उसमें काफी बदलाव इस बैंकिंग रेगुलेशन एक्ट के अमेंडमेंट से आया हुआ है, और वो हमें समझना जरूरी है, क्योंकि हम जिस तरह से बैंकिंग के डिसीजन ले रहे थे, especially in terms of capital, equity, in terms of board, the elections to the board and all those areas. Typically, as a cooperative banker, what has happened is this. All these years, we were focusing only on one particular section, that was section 56, as applicable to cooperative banks, was the principal area of focus. And that principal area of focus now has altered. It has altered the applicability of the act. It has altered the situation where certain sections which were earlier not applicable have now become applicable, and therefore the way we were looking at things has undergone a substantial change. What I believe is that I will touch upon the key areas which are bothering us tremendously, and prior to that would like to give you a little background about these amendments which have come into place briefly. If you visit Reserve Bank of India sites, there is one section in the RBI site, that is legal section. Until recently, on that legal section, somewhere in the year 2006-2007, there was one paper published by Reserve Bank of India, and which talked about the possible amendments to the Banking Regulation Act. I'm talking of a story which is 10-year-old or 12-year-old. But then the amendments which were proposed then were not pushed through for several reasons. In the meantime, governments also changed. And typically, in 2004, many of you are very senior people. You would be remembering that post Madhavpura, Reserve Bank of India had coined an idea of entering into a memorandum of understanding with the respective state governments, with the idea that to regulate the sector more, the banking related guidelines would be issued by Reserve Bank of India only, and the election and registration, all these areas were restricted to the concerned state governments, and in respect of multi-state cooperative banks, they were restricted to the central registrar or the as per the Multi-State Act. After that, there was continuous research and study and interactions which were going on as to the BR Act as was applicable to the cooperative banks. Requires a lot of changes was going on. What has happened to hasten these amendments was the event of Punjab and Maharashtra Cooperative Bank in Mumbai, where a fraud of around 6,000 crore took place, and that in fact expedited the passage of these amendments to the BR Act. It was September 2019 when the episode of PNC Bank took place, and the Reserve Bank of India then came out with the argument that it doesn't have the appropriate powers and tools to control the urban cooperative banking sector. And in fact, the finance minister then, in the first week of October 2019, went on record saying that the multi-state banks are not controlled directly by Reserve Bank of India, and all those are now historical positions. I'm going to focus on why these amendments have come and how they are impacting us. Thereafter, these amendments were pushed, and somewhere in the month of March, they were presented to the Lok Sabha, which were passed, and by the time they could be presented to Rajya Sabha, the COVID lockdown came and the Rajya Sabha could not meet, and therefore the ordinance was required to be promulgated, which was promulgated by the central government. And the ordinance of these amendment was passed somewhere on 26th of June. The GR for that was issued on 26th of June. Typically, the BR Act Amendment Bill 114 was converted into an ordinance. But that ordinance, which covered or which talked about certain sections, not the entire sections, it talks about certain additions and certain deletions. And these additions and deletions have made the life of the urban cooperative banker little difficult till the effect of these changes sinks in. जब तक हम ये समझ नहीं पाते हैं कि क्या ऐड हुआ है और क्या डिलीट हुआ है, किस वजह से हुआ है और उसका इम्पैक्ट क्या आने वाला है, ये जब तक समझ में नहीं आता है, अभी भी लोगों के समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, क्योंकि उसके अलग अलग तरह के इंटरप्रिटेशन अलग अलग लोग अलग अलग हिसाब से कर रहे हैं। तो जब ये 26 जून को ऑर्डिनेंस जारी किया गया, when the ordinance was issued on 26th of June, which was issued by the finance ministry, and when this finance ministry issued the ordinance, it issued a caveat to that ordinance that there was one particular section 4 within the ordinance which talked about the restrictions on the issue of share capital or the restrictions on the refund of share capital. Typically, that section 4 in the ordinance, not in the BR Act, it said that these would be applicable or implemented only if the day or the date on which it will be notified by the central government. So 26 June ordinance was issued, and people were then waiting as to when this section 4 would be activated. Believe me, almost all the big banks have a methodology of tracking the laws which are affecting their activities rather than banking activities. On 29th of June, the law ministry issued a notification stating that the section 4 in the ordinance is applicable to the cooperative banks in the country, meaning thereby the provisions which were made in the bill have become applicable from 29th of June. The immediate impact, especially in Maharashtra, was this: that the section 12(1) which was introduced in this ordinance and which talked about the share capital, and the idea was that this section 12 which introduced had a caveat that no urban cooperative bank can issue a share capital without prior approval, inverted commas, prior approval of Reserve Bank of India. I'm not going into the legal parlance. I would like to only analyze and evaluate the impact of the provisions which have been made, because if I talk in legal jargon, it will not be easy for us to understand its impact and decide the course of action that we would like to do. Here I must tell, I'm going to make a reference to one particular clarity, is that the views which I am expressing are my views, and these views should not be attached to the organization to which I belong. My organization may have a different view in this particular area. So I'll be talking of my view as well as what my bank has done. My bank has a business of 5,500 crores. So we are a fairly large bank with 40 odd branches and all that. So what I will be sharing with you is as to what we have done, what banks in Maharashtra have done, what many other banks are not doing, and what many other banks are doing, and what Reserve Bank of India is doing. So the main area of concern is of the share capital section 12(1), which prohibits issuance, which also prohibits refund, which also talk about non-reduction in the share capital of an urban cooperative bank. So these are the three areas of main focus of that section. How as an urban cooperative bank will respond to? I have seen the letter of Kadupur Bank. I know Mr. Vinodji because we have met in various other conferences also. Typically, this is a COVID situation. I'll address the first part, where it says that the urban cooperative banks cannot issue share capital or any other instrument, capital raising instrument, without prior approval of the Reserve Bank of India. If you look at the history of the circulars which are issued by Reserve Bank of India, you will notice that Reserve Bank of India hitherto has never issued any guidelines to urban cooperative banks on the issuance of share capital, except a circular in respect of linkages, where it says that the cooperative banks are expected to give money to its members. If the money given is secured, is backed by security, then the share linkage allotment should be to the extent of 2.5%. And if the money which is given is unsecured, then the share linkage that the borrower or the member who has to procure is 5%. Different states have different limits in terms of maximum cap as to how much maximum share capital that can be allotted. For example, in Maharashtra, some 20-25 years ago, the cooperative commissioner had issued guidelines that the individual should not hold shares more than rupees 5 lakhs. But for the multi-state banks, that upper limit does not exist. Despite that, many multi-state cooperative banks have put some restriction that one individual cannot subscribe to more than 25 lakhs, so on and so forth. Now here, during COVID situation, if I do not issue share, because the linkage guidelines are not cancelled, the borrower who is taking loan from an urban cooperative bank must mandatorily become a member. Point number one. Point number two is that must mandatorily subscribe to the linkage, that is share capital which is linked to his loan that he is taking from the bank. That particular circular has not been cancelled, has not been repealed. It would mean that the linkage circular remains as it is. Now here, typically, where is the prior approval? Now during COVID, if I am going to give money to a distressed borrower who is in need of money, if I do not make him member, I cannot give him money. If I do not take a share linkage from him, I cannot disburse the money. That being the situation, we were expecting Reserve Bank of India to issue some guidelines on that. But Reserve Bank of India has not issued any guidelines. What is the other way around to obviate a possible charge of violation by an urban cooperative bank? The possible way, the way I have done or way my bank has done is that we have written to Reserve Bank of India about the amendments that has come, wherein the prior approval of issue is required. We have told Reserve Bank of India that we are on no choice basis. There is no schematic approval or there is no any guidelines from you in this regard. I cannot stop lending. So we are lending on the basis of existing guidelines which are in force, whereunder the 2.5% linkage and 5% linkage is being continued. So this is what the practical scenario is, because there is one amendment that has come in section 53 in the amendment bill. What that section 53 talks about is that the Reserve Bank of India has authority to either exempt collectively or selectively certain banks under the cooperative segment, exempt from any of the provisions of this act. There is also a provision which talks about the guidelines which are to be issued or which are being issued by Reserve Bank of India or Reserve Bank's power to issue guidelines in respect of all the provisions of the Banking Regulation Act, including the one which has come via amendment in the month of September. So as far as issuance of share capital, there are no guidelines, but then there are banks which are issuing share capital. Of course, to ensure that the Reserve Bank of India's inspectors do not come and raise an objection in terms of the violation of BR Act, the simple way that they have done is that they have written to the Reserve Bank of India that this is what they have done. This is a practical solution, not a legal solution. We expect Reserve Bank of India to come out with some guidelines. When it will come, it's anybody's guess, so nobody knows. This is one part of that section 12.1 which has been introduced, which talks about this. The second part, which talks about the share capital of urban cooperative bank, is about the refund. That one provision is that the member cannot demand refund, and second is the urban cooperative bank should not give refund. So these are two separate things. One is a member's right that a member cannot demand refund, and second is banker's right to refund. Now here, typically in the state of Maharashtra, there is rather a typical provision in the State Cooperative Act also, where the bank is permitted to refund share capital to the extent of 10% of previous year's outstanding share capital. Suppose last year the share capital outstanding is 50 crores, the bank was permitted to refund to the extent of 5 crores in the subsequent year. So that provision remained. But with this passage of this particular act, that provision has become infructuous or rather void, because this particular amendment and the other provisions which are now become applicable to the urban cooperative bank is that any other provision in any other law or any other act or in the bylaws of the bank is contrary to the letter and spirit of various provisions under this act are void. इसका मतलब ये है कि बीआर एक्ट में अभी जो अमेंडमेंट हुए हैं उसके खिलाफ या उसके अगेंस्ट अगर किसी बैंक के बाइलॉ में या अगर किसी दूसरे कोऑपरेटिव स्टेट के कोऑपरेटिव एक्ट में या मल्टी स्टेट में अगर कोई प्रोविजन है तो वो मायने नहीं रखती है। जो बीआर एक्ट में जो प्रोविजन किया गया है वो सुपरलेटिव रहेगा, वो इन्फोर्सेबल रहेगा। तो बाकी एक्ट का प्रोविजन अगर टेंजेंट में है तो, खिलाफ है तो, फॉर एग्जाम्पल in a state cooperative act there is a provision which talks of the refund, as I told you just now. But now if there is a prohibition on refund, by virtue of this bill, refund cannot be made. Now here there are various other arguments which have been still going on, and we expect, in fact, we expect Reserve Bank of India to come out with certain guidelines. There is a link for this provision which goes back as old as 5 or 6 years. You might be knowing the MSME Minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari. He had toyed one idea that he would like to have a soft stock exchange for MSMEs, and where the plan was to include the urban cooperative banks to be registered or to be listed on a stock exchange which is on par with Bombay Stock Exchange. I mean, idea is still floating. With this, the provision has been drafted in this bill. What is it says? You cannot publicly issue, you cannot privately issue. Now, typically all the urban cooperative banks which are issuing the linking agreements are nothing but private placement. There are different views on this. Because I cannot give money to the borrower unless he is my member. So he becomes my member with 100 rupees subscription, for example. And then I have to allot him share on the basis of the linkage agreements or linkage guidelines which have been issued by Reserve Bank of India. So it's a private placement between the bank and the borrower. So public placement का सवाल इसमें पैदा ही नहीं होता है. Public placement का सवाल कब पैदा होगा? When there is a stock exchange. Typically, the current situation is that the stock exchange for urban cooperative banks is nowhere in sight. Even it still remains a dream or an idea. Now, there is another provision which has come out of possibly because of the issues in the urban cooperative banking sector, despite the fact that almost 80 to 90% banks are having CRAR beyond 9%. Hardly 70-80 banks are there which are in D category or C category where they have CRAR issues, but almost all banks, all urban cooperative banks, almost 1400 banks do not have problem in respect of CRAR. Now, with this amendment, you are not supposed to reduce your share capital. You cannot give refund, but the option of having a queue of transfer is still open. I do not know the provisions of state laws which are in other states, how these are being made, but as far as multi-states are concerned, there is an option of having a transfer of shares for the new member and the old member. For example, if there is a member who wants back his 1000 rupee shares, and there is a member who wants to take a loan and would like to subscribe to the 1000 rupee shares, by maintaining the share capital level same, such transfer is permissible and provided in the Multi-State Act. But then such a specific provision, I doubt whether the state laws have such kind of provision. But then there are opinions which talks that the transfer is allowed because transfer doesn't reduce the share capital of a bank. A member is replaced by a B member. Now this is typically a situation which we have not been able to handle, and many of the banks, in fact, few banks wrote to NAFCAB, and NAFCAB has given a very categorical answer to these banks that they should stop refund for post passage of this act. Subsequently, the NAFCAB as well as the Maharashtra Federation has taken up the issue about the share capital, the prior approval of issuance of share capital, the refund, and all these issues with the Reserve Bank of India for the issuance of guidelines. Of course, so far the guidelines have not come. We hope that the guidelines will come, but then there is no light at the end of the tunnel as far as this typical situation is concerned. As far as the refund is concerned, what we have done here is that we have started accepting the application for refund with informing the member that your refund application will be processed only after a receipt of revised guidelines in respect of refund, because of the BR Act amendment which has come into place. So we have stopped refund. There are many banks, even in our states, that disregarding the amendments that have come, they are engaging in refund. They are continuously accepting the refund application and paying refund. I believe that this is a risky area to indulge into, because this is a clear-cut violation of the present law that has been passed. And if a bank is indulging into a refund, then possibly they are into the violation of Banking Regulation Act, which can land them into difficulties in terms of the Reserve Bank of India and its inspection. Let us understand one thing very clearly, that the way State Cooperative Act is normally interpreted or administered by the Cooperative Commissioner in respective state. Likewise, the Banking Regulation Act, the interpreting and implementing authority in the country is Reserve Bank of India. As long as the Reserve Bank of India is not coming out with any guidelines, my position or my view is that we should follow the law in letter. The spirit will come as soon as the guidelines are issued by Reserve Bank of India, because Reserve Bank of India is fully authorized to give the appropriate guidelines the way they exist in the country. So this is the major section or major change which we are still grappling with, and our attention typically has not gone to the other areas which has impacted the life of an urban cooperative banker. How they have impacted, that is something which I'll talk about 15-20 minutes, and then we can have a question answer session. One of the areas which I find that the December 19 or January 20 onwards, we are all aware of one concept of issued by Reserve Bank of India, with the instruction that the bylaws of the urban cooperative bank must be amended to meet the guidelines which they have communicated, and the guidelines are in respect of the board of management. You're all aware of the board of management concept, and where the various federations in the country have protested, various including NAFCA also had protested that the concept of BOM should not be made applicable to urban cooperative banks. But then Reserve Bank of India did not listen and issued guidelines wherein before this December, the bylaws of the bank should have been amended and the appropriate provision for the board of management should have been made. It is another story that the COVID pandemic had changed the whole scenario, and wherein as far as the Maharashtra state is concerned, you will find that the state government has advised the urban cooperative bank by suitably issuing the orders or the GR in that respect, that the urban cooperative banks in Maharashtra can conduct their AGM, DCS AGM, on or before 31st of March 2020. In fact, they are finding it very tough that whether these banks will ever be able to conduct DCS AGM, and therefore the subject matters which are normally decided by AGM have been assigned, or the board of respective bank has been authorized to take the decision in respect of the various subject matters of AGM. Why I am referring this BOM concept is principally because of this. The concept of BOM was typically borrowed from a provision of Reserve Bank of India, provision of the Banking Regulation Act, Section 10B. Section 10B talks about the professional directors of the banking industry. Now, typically you will find that the qualifications which have been prescribed there were imported from Section 10B and were incorporated in the guidelines which are issued by Reserve Bank of India for constitution of board of management, which would be appointed by the board of directors. Here is the story now. The BOM, the concept of BOM itself will become redundant. Why it will become redundant? The Section 10B, which has now become applicable to urban cooperative bank, states that the board of the urban cooperative bank should have 51% professional directors. I am worried on two counts. Post Madhapura, you will all remember that in 2003, the concept of expert director came in, and across the country, the banks amended their bylaws to either elect expert director on the board or co-opt the expert director on the board. Many banks preferred the co-option route. And then now the BOM concept, the board of management concept, which was officially introduced by Reserve Bank of India last year, somewhere in the month of December, made mandatory that before December 2020 you should have board of management. Now this BR Act amendment typically says that any board of an urban cooperative bank must have 51% the professional directors, and they have defined clearly what is professional, who is professional. The beautiful part of this definition under Section 10B is that they have defined a special knowledge and expertise area. They are not prescribed a qualification. For a simple understanding, I'd say that they have covered the area of accountancy. What is this accountancy? Anybody who has a special knowledge of accountancy, how do you define? Typically, I believe that if you are a BCom and then doing the job of accounts or serving while doing accounts, you can fit into the category of calling yourself an expert director. Of course, the list is very big. There is a list of lawyer and everything, all those are there. So the 51% directors, if they are professional, the purpose of BOM gets defeated. And therefore, sooner or later, it is heard, it is being discussed among the veteran bankers that the circular of BOM is likely to be withdrawn. Whether RBI withdraws or not, I'll be waiting like you that whether the concept of BOM will be withdrawn because of the applicability of Section 10B, which has been now made available. Every bank which is facing an election will have the skill set. We should have the skill set to ensure that of the total number of members, 51% of the members should fit into the professional qualifications or the experience or the specialized knowledge as has been prescribed under Section 10B. Now, how they will do it is another part of the story. Because what will happen, suppose there are two panels which are contesting the elections of the board, and few members of one panel are elected and few members of other panel are elected, and then you have a board of say 15 members, and only suppose 5 members are having this professional qualification or they are fitting into the definition of 10B. What Reserve Bank of India will do under Section 10B, there is a provision that if you are not fitting into the category of the professional, or if the bank doesn't have a 51% the professionally qualified or specialized knowledge people, Reserve Bank of India can reconstitute the board or eliminate some of the members suo moto. Typically, the elections in urban cooperative banks is a domain of a registrar or the state election body. I mean, like in Maharashtra, we have a separate state electorate body even for the cooperative organizations. Now here, there is a provision which has now become applicable, which talks of the Reserve Bank of India's power of conducting elections. Whether Reserve Bank of India will conduct or not, I am not sure. But then it is the Reserve Bank of India which can conduct the election without waiting for the state government or the central government to take any chance on that. So the 51% board, and if the board doesn't have 51% qualification, the board can be reconstituted by Reserve Bank of India, is what this typical provision has now become applicable. Another provision which has come into place is the Section 10A, whereunder the Section 10A reads that no individual can be a director of an urban cooperative bank continuously for more than 8 years. Now, this particular provision has become or is going to cause a lot of difficulties for number of cooperative banks, because normally what happens in many banks, the elections are not held. The members, the board is elected unopposed. There are no elections also many times. Now here what will happen? If a person is there on the board for a period of 8 years, he is straight away disqualified from becoming a director. There is a major impact the sector is going to witness. And then if you talk of 8 years, the split is of 4 years and 4 years. Typically, in the public sector bank, the concept of 8 years is applicable. Let me tell you, the BR Act or the amendments that have come has a huge impact of the companies law which exists and which is applicable to the typically public sector banks, has its impact on this BR Act now, which are the provisions of which are now become applicable to the urban cooperative banks. But this 10A provision, where an individual cannot be in the office of the director for more than 8 years, is difficult to digest. But probably the idea of curtailing the creation of wasted interest, this provision seems to be in the interest of the industry. You will find a number of people who are on the board for say 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Somewhere the vested interest is created, and typically in the financial world, the creation of vested interest is required to be arrested. The way it has been arrested for the public sector banks, this is something which is new for the urban cooperative banks, but we will have to follow this law. Secondly, the directors who are not qualifying the conditions mentioned under the BR Act, like 8 years, like professional qualifications and all that, they can be forced retired by Reserve Bank of India by way of a separate provision, as I was talking to you. Secondly, any decision taken by the Reserve Bank of India in respect of removal of a member of the board or reconstitution of the board cannot be challenged in any court in the country, whether it is a district court or high court or a Supreme Court. No court will entertain any decision of Reserve Bank of India in respect of the decision, in respect of removal of the director, and all those provisions are unchallengeable. Likewise, I mean, if you remember, there is a section 46 prevailing in the BR Act, which talks that if a bank is penalized for the default or irregularities by Reserve Bank of India, the bank cannot approach the court for challenging the decision of penalizing the bank. That is the immunity given to the Reserve Bank of India by virtue of this bank. Typically, I find that one more provision which is new and which has come to us is this: that Reserve Bank of India expects that the chairman of the board should be a whole-time chairman, and whole-time chairman would be the administrative control would be with the whole-time chairman. If the whole-time chairman is not elected or not nominated, the chairman can be part-time. Now, if the chairman is part-time, in which case the position of managing director becomes mandatory. If the chairman is whole-time, then the MD may not be there. Typically, what has happened in urban cooperative bank, the CEO or the apex body, apex person, administrative head, whatever name you call, whether it is general manager or CEO or whatever, he is the MD of that bank. And typically, if the chairman is part-time, then the position of MD becomes absolutely mandatory. And the interesting portion is that if the chairman is part-time, then the prior approval of RBI may not be required. Full-time, then the approval is not required. But if the chairman is part-time, then the approval of Reserve Bank of India appears to be mandatory. If the chairman is part-time, then the MD has to be obviously full-time. There is no issue on that. Another interesting provision which I find that the CEO or MD, the prior approval before appointment has become mandatory. And another provision that has via BOM that has come is this: that if the CEO or MD is appointed by the bank, prior approval is required. Secondly, they also need a consent of your AGM for the appointment of managing director or CEO. And the concept that has come via BOM is this: that AGM has to approve the appointment of CEO also. That has come. RBI has currently not prescribed any age restrictions for the directors. But for MD, the age restriction that exists is that of 70. Section 10A, 10B, 10BB, 10C, all these sections which have now become applicable are absolutely unchallengeable in any of the court of law. Secondly, the chairman, who is either full-time or part-time, must mandatorily have a banking experience or a business administration experience. If and that has to be established by the bank before the appointment, that the chairman who is being appointed has a banking related experience or the administrative experience, then only he can be a chairman. You will find that in many banks, people from other professions like doctors and all these social workers are normally elected on the members of the board, and they do not have the banking experience. It will be difficult to get the approval from Reserve Bank of India for the appointment of such chairman, is what these provisions are indicating. One more important provision, rather two more important provisions I will talk about, and I'll throw it open to the members for asking me the questions. One of the provisions which has now come is that the statutory auditor's appointment will require a prior approval of Reserve Bank of India. Post the 97th amendment to the Constitution, 97th constitutional amendment, all the urban cooperative banks have undertaken changes in their bylaws. By virtue of changes in these bylaws, the annual general body meeting of the members, which is the highest body as per the section 62 and similar section in multi-state bank, multi-state act, the statutory auditor who is appointed by the AGM is a finality, but no longer it is so. You have to seek a prior approval of Reserve Bank of India before recommending any audit firm for the work of statutory audit of your bank. This is an important change that has come into play. For example, now if you are in Maharashtra and your board is going to make an appointment of statutory auditor, please remember that before you give him an appointment letter, seek approval of Reserve Bank of India in writing before you appoint any audit firm for the statutory audit of your bank. This is very important. One more interesting provision which is going to bother us is that of section 49C, which is now open and applicable to us. What this section 49C says? It says that principally the word articles and memorandum of association, which is typically picked up from the Indian Companies Act, the urban cooperative banks have a concept of bylaws, where bylaws are virtually articles of association, and the specific provision is there. Wherever the word articles of association and memorandum of association has been used, it will be on par with the bylaws of the bank. And this section 49C says that any amendment to the article, meaning there may any amendment to the bylaws of the bank, requires prior approval of the Reserve Bank of India. So if you are proposing any change in the bylaws of your bank, make sure that you write to Reserve Bank of India, seek their approval, and then proceed to the annual general meeting for its approval. What I find is that typically the BR Act amendment bill that has come to play now, although there are 16, 17 areas which are affecting us, the amendment bill itself, the reading itself is very complex. Why the reading is complex? Reading is complex for the simple reason that there are several provisions which were exempted to the urban cooperative bank by virtue of insulation provided in the section 56 is now no longer available. For example, this amendment bill will simply say that this particular section is now omitted. How to interpret that? It would mean that the section 56 as applicable to urban cooperative bank, in that section 56, certain provisions are deleted. For example, section S8 under 56 was deleted. As long as it was there, prior approval of Reserve Bank of India for appointment of statutory auditor was not required. That is deleted would mean that the deletion of section SA from the section 56 would mean that section 31, which is normally applicable to the entire banking industry, now becomes applicable. It would mean that if you want to appoint a statutory auditor, you will have to ensure that you seek a prior approval of Reserve Bank of India. So these are basically certain provisions. We are still evaluating how these provisions could be affecting us and how the canvas of urban cooperative banks would undergo a change. And there is one more interesting point which I would like to refer to only for the sake of information. You will find that the Reserve Bank of India is penalizing banks, including urban cooperative banks, for irregularities or a default or some issues or some violations. How these penalties are determined by Reserve Bank of India? If you read section 46 or 47, you will get absolute clarity. The meaning of these sections is that the amount which is considered to be involved in the error or the violation of a urban cooperative bank, double the amount will be the amount of penalty, barring the non-quantifiable offences or violations. So non-quantifiable violations where the penalty can be from 20,000 rupees to 5 lakhs rupees. Wherever you will find this bank has been penalized for 1 crore rupees, this bank has been penalized for 5 crore rupees, some public sector banks have been penalized for 10 crore rupees. As an urban cooperative banker, we were never bothered, we were never looking at this section 46 and 47. As an urban cooperative banker, it will be my humble request that all of you must read the Banking Regulation Act thoroughly well, because there are no editions now available. No new edition is available post the amendment that have come to place. So typically, while reading the amendment bill, you have to carry the BR Act with you, refer each addition or each deletion with the original context, and then try to arrive at what is applicable and what is not applicable. I am still studying and I am still not comfortable with the impact that is coming up. We are still trying to fathom, we are still trying to understand it. There are two very senior lawyers on my panel. The senior lawyers have taken almost 3 weeks to confirm what I think about these amendments. So this is not an easy amendment bill to interpret and understand. Lot of R&D is still going on. Various banks are taking different views and different issues. For example, the Saurashtra Association, I do not know anybody is there from Saurashtra here. Saurashtra Association interpreted the section 12(1) like this, that unless the stock exchange is created, the refund rules are not applicable to the banks. Now, this is typically not reading between the lines appropriately is what my view is. Where the act is saying that they are going for a stock exchange, it's all hearsay. Even whatever I said was what I had heard. Is there a proposition from central government that the urban cooperative banks will be allowed to list? It's all discussion, it's all a talk. Law here categorically says, and the amendment categorically provokes us to think that there will be a stock exchange for the capital augmentation of the urban cooperative banks. As it is, the urban cooperative banks can issue debentures, can issue preferences and all that. It is another story that Reserve Bank of India doesn't grant you any permission. That is a different story. But at least in terms of the circulars and guidelines, those provisions are in existence. मुझे लगता है कि ये जो BR Act अमेंडमेंट आया है, इसको हमें सीरियसली लेना बहुत जरूरी है. क्यों जरूरी है? इसकी वजह ये है कि ignorance of law is not an excuse. Whether Reserve Bank of India issues you guidelines or otherwise, what is important? There is a law and that we have to follow. Now, while following, we try to discuss and we would like to understand the proper meaning of it. And therefore, what I have shared with you is that how do I see it? You may or may not agree with the views that I am expressing. As far as Vinod Dadlani's communication is concerned, I have already made very clear in my earlier presentation as to how we view the share application and share refund rules. If at all there are any queries, as I said that I talk about 40 minutes or so. So whatever that I understood from these amendments, I have placed it before you. I'll make it open for you to ask me question and try to answer in the best possible fashion. Thank you.
Yeah, Atul, thank you very much for your good talk.
Yeah,
See, you have seen my letter I have written to RBI 2 months back
yeah,
regarding this Section 12 amendment and what we do, what are our current bylaws,
yeah,
and seeking their clarity and further guidelines on various sections. But as usual, there is no reply. So I thought because you are sitting in Maharashtra and maybe directly connected with RBI top brass and maybe discussing with the RBI CGM and ED levels, so you may be having more clarity whether they are going to come up with detailed guidelines and applicability, and whether some exceptions or exemptions will be given to certain cooperative banks. As you rightly said, they have powers to make certain sections applicable to certain banks and maybe give exemption to certain banks based on financial position and other criteria as may be decided by them. So that is one aspect. Then another, if you see that section uh, uh, 10, because you are saying section 10, 10A, 10B, 10 double B, 10C and 10D. In the BR Act amendment, they are saying that section 10, 10A, 10B, 10 double B, 10C and 10D shall be omitted. That is the word they have mentioned. Now, my understanding of that will be that because it is omitted, so how these sections will be directly applicable, and in case it is these are going to be applicable, then the other point which you are saying that directors eligibility will be for 8 years to remain continuously on the board. I think there also some clarity is required because they are talking about disqualification. If a director is disqualified or removed, then they will not be eligible to re-elect for next 4 years. But this continuous eligibility of only restricted up to 8 years, that I think requires clarification. Another point which I need clarification, if you have studied and discussed with the RBI people also, will be regarding mergers and amalgamation, because few merger applications are pending with RBI since last 1 year and above. There are no queries. The regional office, when we inquire, they say it has been sent to central office. Central office, there are no queries, and when we call central office, vague replies are coming. They are simply saying in one-liner reply, it is under consideration. Whether merger committee will be hold or directly merger orders will be issued, whether there will be any say of the CRCS for NOC, etc. No clarity is there with even within RBI. So if you have that clarity and if you can throw light on that also, it will be helpful to the group. Yeah, Atul, you can proceed now.
सवाल पूछिए फिर बोला
Can you hear me?
हमें इसे लगा रहे हैं उधर जाएंगे
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
So there was some link problem. I don't know. Technically, I cannot decipher what went wrong. I'll respond to the two three issues raised by Vinod in a different way. Pardon me for being very blunt. Am I audible? No.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Audible, no? Right. See, typically what has happened is that this COVID has created a situation where Reserve Bank of India is not working. Pardon me for saying that. Because all these days for the past post the amendment of the BR Act, I have found that they are not working on it. And in one of the groups, some comments about this act were made available from reportedly to be a person from Reserve Bank of India. My talks with their couple of GMs and all this is that they are working. The legal team is working on that. But then the view that is taken by Reserve Bank of India is that they will not change the law. Whatever the legal provisions as have been made by the Parliament would remain as it is. What the circular or guidelines they will issue is that they will be only to handhold the urban cooperative banks to implement and execute the exact text of the law. So they will more focus on the spirit of the law rather than on the text of it. This is one part of the story. How much time it will take? 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? God only knows. Because as of now, no Reserve Bank of India senior executive is really talking about this. They're all saying that we are working on it and they're not opening it out. Point number 2, as far as COVID is concerned, there was a question about the merger from Vinod also. They are keeping it silent. They are trying to evaluate the impact of COVID and the dent that it will create in the sector. And therefore, they will not be taking the call on this mergers and acquisitions immediately as far as cooperative bank to cooperative bank is concerned. They will not give immediate release unless your financials as of March 2021 are good. They don't know because they are still not in a position to really assess the impact. Another issue why Reserve Bank of India is not working on this regularly is that the Supreme Court decision of moratorium, the Reserve Bank of India did not issue any guidelines that you should not break any account NPA. Despite that, many banks did not run the program of NPA for September. Now they are still trying to understand the impact. I mean, many of your banks might have received a communication from the Reserve Bank of India कि भैया आपने सितंबर में एनपीए किया था या नहीं किया था या सुप्रीम कोर्ट का ऑर्डर पे आपने नहीं किया था. So all this confusion is going on. Secondly, the data from various urban cooperative banks, even the audits are not complete, are yet to be received by them. They have stated that the dividend issue in respect of dividend, they will take it up post September. They have not been able to do because many banks are still in the process of audit and they are not completing an audit. In my state, the state government has permitted the banks to hold AGM till 31st of March. So it's a sweet time. How they will assess the urban health of urban cooperative banks based on September result is a question for everyone. Despite submitting the OSR, I find it very difficult that Reserve Bank of India will take any call on this. Forget about the BR Act amendment and all that. As far as the question that you are asking is Section 10, 10A, 2 or 10D shall be omitted. The clear-cut meaning of this BR Act amendment comes is that when they say that this FI, I, and G shall be omitted would mean that this section would become applicable. This is what my lawyer says. There are different views which are being taken up. But I personally feel that these sections should be made applicable because that's the only way to tighten the screws around the urban cooperative banks. Now, if you continue to get the exemption, the very purpose of reining the control from the state government to the Reserve Bank of India cannot be achieved unless these sections become enforceable. So practically for all intents and purposes, Section 10, 10A, 10B, 10BB, 10C, 10D would be enforced by Reserve Bank of India. This is my understanding, and this is on the basis of my legal team and two independent, very, very senior lawyers who are confirming this. Now, as Vinod has rightly said, there is still a confusion. There are several grey areas in this whole provision, especially the provisioning in respect of the disqualifications which have been prescribed. There are several disqualifications have been prescribed, and how to interpret that is an issue. Even Reserve Bank of India is not sure. So we are all sitting dark at the moment, and there is no clarity on that. So as Dr. Dowle was talking, that we must get the clarity of all the issues. I'm sorry, you can't get, for the simple reason that even the lawmakers are finding it difficult how to implement this.
Sir, could I ask a question
Yeah.
as to why should we not challenge this amendments to Banking Regulation Act on its constitutional virus?
Yes, there is only one point on the basis of which a writ can be filed. I'll share you the point. I had been taking it up with NAFCAP and all these people also. What is that point? All other areas are constitutionally valid. There is constitutionally invalid area which talks of a provision where members cannot demand his share capital. That is the constitutional crisis that has been created, and I believe that if somebody moves the High Court or the Supreme Court on this provision will be amended appropriately. And now if I take a loan from you, I take a share linking of 2.5% or 5%, I repay your loan. You are not going to repay my share which I gave you for your legal provisions which are issued by Reserve Bank of India. Share linking is not a BR Act issue. Share linking is Reserve Bank of India's guidelines. Now BR Act says that you cannot demand share refund. This is the constitutional area. This is the only provision which is a weaker one as far as the constitution is concerned.
Sir, I also feel that if you consider this act in the light of 97th constitutional amendment, where right to cooperative society is a fundamental right,
Very true.
then this act, if it is seen through the screen of 97th constitutional amendment, there will be several areas which would be ultra virus the constitution.
Yes. I agree.
So why are the banks not challenging it?
See, individually banks will not like to take a panga. It's only the federation or the NAFCAP which has to take. Practically I am arguing. There can be different answers to this.
Sir, this is Sanjali Tillu. I have a couple of questions, sir.
Yeah.
So how should we treat the disease claim request which come from the members for refunding the share capital?
Legally you cannot.
So once
what you can do is that you can escalate the request to Reserve Bank of India and seek their approval.
So each and every there are. So there are. Is there any clause on the amount, because there are so small amount of requests as good as as good as 2,000, 3,000.
I'll tell you what. There is a you understand Marathi?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. हत्ती गेला आपण शेपूट अडकलं ही मराठीतली एक म्हण आहे. It's not a question of 2,000 or 2 lakh or 20 lakhs. You never know where you can come into difficulties. What you can do is that you can run the risk for a smaller amount and report to Reserve Bank of India seeking their approval. And let me tell you very honestly that it is the COVID and the COVID impact, financial impact. If you take anything, if you refund, with the reason that COVID had affected the member and he needed money, therefore I have given, you cannot be hanged. The Reserve Bank of India can give you a show cause notice if you don't do this. Clear that nothing will happen. This is my view. But then,
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Can you come again?
see, if you know the law, you are supposed to be the one who know the law. Now, there cannot be two different meanings for the letter which contains in the law. And law says that you cannot refund. You have a humanitarian situation which has been created, maybe for 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees. You can take a risk. You can refund, but then what? How you can save your institution from violation? Seek approval of Reserve Bank of India. Please report to them.
Okay.
Now, this is a practical answer I am giving. I am not giving you any legal answer.
And sir, what
I'm
about?
not a lawyer also. I am a banker like you.
And sir, what about you mentioned about appointment of statutory auditors and bylaw amendment would require prior approval of RBI.
Yeah.
Now, what about the banks who have already taken the general body meeting and have passed the resolution for appointment of statutory auditors and bylaw amendment?
Seek post appointment approval. I have done that.
Okay.
AGM was conducted.
So that is mandatory.
Yeah. I have sent a proposal to Reserve Bank of India. My AGM has appointed this fellow as my statutory auditor, but this is the section that has now become applicable because of these amendments. Kindly approve the appointment that has been made. And if you don't want to approve, kindly tell us the name of a person who can be appointed in his place.
Okay.
So what happens, the onus should be placed on them. As long as you are not placing onus on them, onus will come on you. You try to wriggle out your organization from the interpretational difficulties of these amendments.
So will the central registrar also call for RBI approval while approving and registering our bylaws amendment proposal?
Central, since there are two answers. One is they should. Second is वो तो सो गए हैं. क्या बात करते हो आप उनसे? Central registrar is not bothered because I have sent them 3 letters. He's not responding. Technically,
So we have to.
Technically,
We have to. Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. As far as statutory audit is concerned, I can see in the chat box one more question. My view is very clear that the statutory audit you appoint must have a prior approval of Reserve Bank of India. If there is no prior approval, post appointment you seek permission of Reserve Bank of India that you have appointed him. There was a delay. Kindly consider and give us the approval. Because if that approval is not there, probably next year's audit you can have different kind of difficulty. If the statutory auditor is not approved by Reserve Bank of India for March 21, what are you going to do? So seek an approval, even if it is appointed by your AGM, even if it is appointed by your board by not conducting AGM, seek approval before you issue any appointment letter to the statutory auditor for the year 2020-21.
Excuse me, sir.
सेक्शन 20 बद्दल माहिती द्या जरा सर.
हॅलो.
हॅलो.
हा बोला.
हा सेक्शन 20 बद्दल माहिती द्याल.
सेक्शन 20 कशाचा? बिहार ऍक्टचा?
बिहार ऍक्ट.
तो कशाबद्दल आहे? डायरेक्टर्सच्या रिलेटेड
डायरेक्टर्स ऍडव्हान्सेस टू डायरेक्टर रिलेटिव्ह.
त्याच्या संदर्भामध्ये तुम्हाला तो सेक्शन अदरवाईजही लागू होता, म्हणजे या अमेंडमेंट याच्या आधीपासूनही लागू होता.
पण त्याच्यामध्ये असं म्हटलेलं आहे की त्यांना एफडीच्या अगेन्स्ट लोन घ्यायला परमिशन नाही डायरेक्टर्सना.
नाही ना, आहे ना. पण आता काय झालं, एफडीच्या अगेन्स्ट लोन द्यायला परवानगी देण्याकरता रिझर्व्ह बँकेने त्यांचा सर्क्युलर काढलाय नाही.
काढलाय का? बर.
हो. काय माहिती का, बिहार ऍक्ट मध्ये जे काही म्हटलंय ना त्या संदर्भामध्ये रिझर्व्ह बँक ऑफ इंडिया हे मायबाप सरकार आहे. रिझर्व्ह बँकेने सर्क्युलर काढला असेल तर विषय संपतो तुमचा. शेअर रिफंडचा प्रॉब्लेम का झाला, तर शेअर रिफंडच्या बाबतीमध्ये गेल्या 40 वर्षात रिझर्व्ह बँकेने एकही परिपत्रक काढलेलं नाही हो. आज बँकांची कोंडी झाली कुठे? तिथे झाली आहे कोंडी. शेअरच्या बाबतीमध्ये जे सर्क्युलर काढलं ते फक्त लिंकेज ऑफ शेअर्स बद्दल काढलं, 2.5% आणि 5%च्या लिंकेज बद्दल काढलं. परंतु शेअर कॅपिटल इश्यू करायचं किंवा नाही किंवा त्याची काय पद्धत आहे हे मला दाखवा ना एक सर्क्युलर. गेल्या म्हणजे 69 साली ज्या वेळेला सेक्शन 56 सुरू झाला तेव्हापासून 72 ला पहिल्यांदा कॉर्पोरेटिव्ह बँकांचं मॅन्युअल रिझर्व्ह बँकेने काढलं. ते जरी काढून बघितलं तरी शेअर कॅपिटल इश्यू करताना रिझर्व्ह बँकेने कुठली मार्गदर्शक तत्त्व दिली त्याचं उत्तर आहे शून्य.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. I'm Trivedi from Cooperative Bank.
थोडा आवाज येत नाहीये, जरा क्लॅरिटी आणा ना आवाजाची.
Sir, I'm Trivedi from Cooperative Bank.
बरं.
I want to know this passage of this amendment. The Banking Regulation Act 1956 says.
मॅडम सर तुमचा आवाज खूप ब्रेक होते, मला कळत नाहीये. आवाज ब्रेक होतोय खूप.
Sir, because of this amendment that Banking Regulation Act applicable to cooperative societies has ceased to exist.
मला काही तुमचा आवाज आहे ना इतका तुटलाय ना, तुम्ही चॅटबॉक्स मध्ये न्या ना प्रश्न. चॅटबॉक्स मध्ये लिहिता येईल का? या ना, आवाज येत नाहीये तुमचा.
ओके ओके ओके.
माझा आवाज येतोय तुमच्यापर्यंत?
क्लिअर येतोय. क्लिअर येतोय.
आवाज सगळं ब्रेक होतोय, मला काही कळत नाहीये.
ओके ओके सर, I'll repeat.
हा.
Sir, with this amendment, has that Banking Regulation Act 1966 Act as applicable to cooperative society has ceased to exist?
चॅटबॉक्स वर टाका ना, चॅटबॉक्स वर.
टाकतो साहेब, टाकतो. Yes.
There is a question on the chat box which talks whether with this passage of BR Act amendment whether BOM is applicable to UCBs. The answer is yes. The answer is yes for two reasons. One is the guidelines are issued by Reserve Bank of India for BOM. Unless they are changed or withdrawn, we have to go ahead with the BOM advisory issued by Reserve Bank of India. Go for the changes or amendments in bylaws, submit the amendments for the approval. It may so happen that you do the amendment in the bylaws and after a month's time, Reserve Bank of India issues a circular that the BOM is not required. So the next year, in the next AGM, you once again go and change the bylaws and withdraw the BOM amendment that you have proposed now. There is no option on that. Because these are regulatory guidelines where it says that before December you will have to do the BOM. You have to take those steps where you are not conducting AGM. In which case, the state government, Maharashtra state government has allowed the banks board to take appropriate decision on respect of AGM agenda. So your board can approve the bylaws amendment and submit the same to the commissioner or the register for approval. So BOM has to be made. The bylaws amendment has to be made. Whether it will come into reality, that time will decide.
So you mentioned one point that we can go ahead with 5%, 2.5% share raising for our members where we are loaning. But where members demand shares for investment purpose, how that should be treated? Like, see, for I am already a member, say with 10,000 shares. I want to invest another 5 lakhs. So is that allowed without taking a loan?
I'll give you a practical answer. My answer is not legal, but will solve your problem. Membership of a cooperative bank is open to everyone. Share linkage is prescribed by Reserve Bank of India. Maximum share capital to individual is 5 lakhs is prescribed by the commissioner of respective state. If a person wants to invest in share capital now, you are supposed to take his application and wait till the Reserve Bank of India issues guidelines. For the simple reason I'll tell you. Whenever there is a linkage, there is an existing guideline of Reserve Bank of India. Whenever you are issuing share capital for the purpose of investment, show me the guidelines. There are none. But your member will harass you. So what you should do, take his application and tell him, as soon as Reserve Bank of India issues guidelines, it is allowed.
So till that time, we'll have to just and hold.
Yes. Someone has asked a question whether Section 56 ceased to exist. It is in existence with the suitable modifications that have now come into place. Section 56 has not been withdrawn. There is a modification in Section 56, sir. There are several other areas under Section 56 which are still valid.
Okay. Okay, sir.
The common beautiful example of validity of Section 56 I give you. There is a provision under Section 56 that the Section 26D or something is not applicable to the urban cooperative banks. And what is that Section 26D or E? I exactly do not remember the number. But the cooperative banks are exempted. What is that exemption, you know? If a statutory auditor qualifies your audit report, then you cannot declare dividend. But the cooperative banks are exempted. So if a statutory auditor qualifies your report and if other things are okay, then you can continue to pay the dividend. There is an exemption. That exemption is still valid. That has not been withdrawn. So the Section 56 per se is valid with these modifications. Yes. Can I respond on a chat box question? The statutory audit has been done by the bank. आणि काय झालं ते 2019 and 20. Hello, can I talk? The approval of statutory auditor, the appointment is for the year 2020-21, not for the year 2019-20. For the year 2019-20, if your AGM has appointed a statutory auditor, that is good enough. You need not take any permission from the Reserve Bank of India. But for the year 2020-21, you must have approval for the appointment of statutory auditor from the Reserve Bank of India. You can ask me questions in the chat box because I find that the link has several issues in terms of voice transfer.
Overridden by this amendment. Contract is null and void.
Only thing is that amendment and amendment.
There is a question in the chat box which talks about the guidelines of Reserve Bank of India for ambiguity. My response is very simple. Ambiguity is there for you and me. For the regulator, there is no ambiguity. You know what is the law, and they will execute or advise you how to implement that. Ambiguity is there because RBI is the only authority which can give meaning to this act. They are the authorized people to give the proper meaning of the text and the letters of the various sections as they exist. And therefore, ambiguity is there as long as Reserve Bank of India is not coming out with any guidelines. We are hopeful that RBI will come out with some guidelines. Let's see how it happens.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
I found by going through the amendment text of the amendment, I found that word moratorium has been removed. Hello,
Your voice is breaking.
sir. I was going through the text of the amendment, and I found that word moratorium has been removed.
Which word has been removed?
Moratorium. Moratorium. And it has been replaced by reconstruction and amalgamation. Now, recently one bank, urban bank, has been put under moratorium in Wardha district. So if the act is not applicable, then how can moratorium be imposed?
See, I'll tell you, the moratorium that has been imposed is under section 35. The word moratorium that has been deleted or removed is under section 56. The bank you are talking of under moratorium, that is under section 35 and 36. So that is still valid.
Okay. And then multi-state word also has been removed. Multi-state word also has been removed. So all banks are at par now. They can open branches anywhere.
No, in fact, multi-state word is already there in the definition of the act. Under 56, they have removed it, but original definition and references, the initial sections of the act towards the multi-state also. Here under 56, they have deleted, but for the entire applicability of the act, multi-state banks are also there. So definitions of the section, the section of definition. Any act will have certain definitions for the better interpretation. You will find the word multi-state there.
Okay. Now, can we hold elections if the term of present board is expiring in February?
Come again, your voice was breaking.
Sir, can we hold elections if the term of the present board is expiring in February next?
You will have to. Where is the option? If you are a multi-state, are you a multi-state?
No, we are not a multi-state, sir.
Okay. So
Yes,
if you are a state, if you are a bank registered under State Act, then Government of Maharashtra has already issued a guideline that till 31st of December there will be no process of election. Process of election for the banks.
No, we have already done Government of Maharashtra, sir.
As far as Maharashtra is concerned, Maharashtra government says that no election till 31st of December. And what happens post 31st of December, they will take a call then. Currently, there is no call on election beyond December. Yeah.
February, already Maharashtra. We are awaiting their reply.
Yeah.
Bas waiting.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
बरं बरं असू दे. आले मी जागेवरती आले. Any questions for sir? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
If anybody has any question, please feel free to ask sir. This is the opportunity you people have got. Sir, we will give them 5 minutes to just think.
Okay.
Shirvatkar sir,
Okay.
we'll give everybody 5 minutes to think. Let them think and come out with questions if at all they have any.
Alternatively, what you can do is that you
Ah.
can share my email ID to all of them.
Yeah, I will.
Let them ask questions on my email. I'll respond. No issues.
Yeah, that also I will do. I'll also, if anybody is interested to get your phone number also, I'll pass it on to them.
Yeah.
They can talk to you. No problem. No issues in that at all, sir.
Yeah.
As we are all part of this program, if anybody has anything to ask, it would be better so that everybody benefits out of it.
Yes, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, as long till the time instructions or operational guidelines are not issued by RBI, I feel that any act done prior to that should have protection. Because this is not a criminal law, which people should not wait for instructions to come. It is a civil law, and for that, proper understanding has to be provided by the RBI regulatory authority. So, any act done before that, prior to that, should have protection or immunity from the purview of law.
Voice completely scrambled. I couldn't hear. You're talking of some protection of law. I mean, I didn't get it.
Yeah, sir. What I say is, sir, till the time RBI comes out with operational guidelines of the implications of this amendment, I feel that any act taken by urban banks prior to issue of guidelines should have immunity or protection.
That is given in the bill. If you read the bill, if you read the bill number 140,
about refund of shares and all, I am saying, meaning, sir.
No, they will not give you protection because 29th June the ordinance was issued. And once on 29th of June, if at all you have refunded share capital after 29th of June, you have violated the act which has been notified post 29th June. On 29th June there was ordinance, and on 29th September there is a law. So once the ordinance is issued, same provisions have been incorporated in the law.
Agreed, sir.
You have to follow that. Now, what is typically happening is that the banks which are in office in town, where there is connectivity issue, they have not been able to get hold of the ordinance issued on 29th of June or
Right.
the consent issued by the president to the bill. In the interim period, if you have conducted any refund or if you have effected any refund, the first important and immediate job to be done is that you report to Reserve Bank of India.
Okay.
You report to Reserve Bank of India so that your offense becomes mild in respect of the violation of BR Act.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Don't let them identify in the next inspection.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So there was one question in the chat box
Yeah.
which I have forwarded to everyone. Can you just see it in your chat, please?
I just see. What's it?
It was a question from Yogesh Madhukar.
They will not mind. You cannot do it. Stop it.
See, the paid up share capital and authorized share capital are two different concepts. You have paid up share capital and there is a gap between authorized share capital and paid up share capital. Question is whether you can issue. I have, during the course of the discussion, has already stated that as far as share linkage is concerned, you are supposed to issue share linkage because the share linkage circular has not been cancelled. As far as other than share linkage, if you give shares, then you are in difficulties. Because your shares are not supposed to be issued for the purpose of investment. And it is precisely for that reason we are all waiting for the guidelines from Reserve Bank of India. You don't need a second permission. You will have to wait for the proper interpretation of Section 12(1) from Reserve Bank of India. It's only the Reserve Bank of India which can issue guidelines in that respect. Please repeat it. Okay. Thank you, sir. Hello. Hello. Yes.
निकला सही है.
We have stopped fund post 17th of September. We are taking the application and informing the member that as soon as Reserve Bank of India issues guidelines, we will start refund. Till then, we cannot refund. We have held it in cold storage for the time being.
I think there are no questions now. Everyone is silent. I think, sir, you have explained everything nicely.
Thank you.
Whatever questions they had, you have satisfied them. I think now there are no questions. I think we can wind up, sir.
Yes, madam.
Yeah, and sir, thank you very much for joining this session and sharing your knowledge and views and ideas with our participants for the benefit of cooperative banks.
Yeah.
And I thank all the participants for having taken out valuable time and participated in the program. I hope all of you benefit from this, and I will certainly send his sir's mail address and phone numbers. If any of you require, please call me or send me an email. I'll send it to you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
With this will wind up. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cordes sir.
Thank you. Khirwadkar sir, thank you.
Chalo, okay. They couldn't get through. क्या करें यार?
बोला मॅडम, पोहोचले तुम्ही?
हो.
सगळे गेले एक जण आहेत, 1 मिनिट त्यांना घाला.
तुझं झालं की
खरा बंद काय आता मी कशाला येऊ बंद कराल तिकडे?
अरे 1 मिनिट ये ना.
हा 1 मिनिट मी हे क्लोज करतो आणि येतो मग तिकडे.
ये.
ओके.